time, so the smaller, obviously, the better. We also want it as cheap as possible. Realistically, I'm thinking 5,000 resources or less. Definitely less is the goal. So, to begin with then, let's have a look-see at the weapons. Also, it's a brand new weapon, since there's a new patch currently out, which is this thing, which I won't be using for the drone, but will be using a little bit in the future. It's the shard cannon. It's a simple weapon, so there's nothing really out there in terms of power. It fires a decently fast shell, very accurately, with a good amount of armor piercing. It's just very cool. But now, though, we're going to be using the particle cannons. So I would love to use the vertical lens, but obviously that's a bit more expensive, so I'm thinking the short-range lens, and then simply put that on a little turret. That wouldn't be too difficult. In fact, what we could have is two turrets. So we have the drone, it'll be all very, very small, probably about this size, maybe 6x6, something like that. Then on the two sides, we could have one little cannon each on a one-way turret. I think that would look really cool, though it would be a bit more expensive, since I'm probably going to have at least two of the tube sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 650 already, then the Terminator. That's going to take up a lot of this thing's cost. And this, ideally, should be all we need in terms of power. Remember, we can always siphon from the mothership, from the aircraft carrier itself. Okay, then we're going to have a mainframe. I'm just checking for costs right now. So that's going to bring us to 450. Then, let's see how much it costs if we have two of these. If we add two of these, rather, if I can use the words. I probably want it like that size at minimum, really, to do anything over any distance. The idea is these will swarm at the enemies, so I probably will get quite close. That's why I'm going with the short range. That's not actually that bad. We could potentially then instead use the vertical, just because I think that looks so cool, but then we might not be able to have quite as many, so we'll stick with the short range for now, just because it does shave off 250 per gun, and we'll see how it does. We can always change it later. So originally, I didn't really mean to go for the whole sci-fi aesthetic, but now I've just threw this down just as, honestly, a test for its size. I actually kind of like the idea, having the fan on the bottom rather than the top, or on the sides like I would normally have it. Then we're likely going to have another Deady Blade at the back, which is going to be for turning, and then maybe some thrusters just for basic stability. That's all we really need, and then just one major thruster at the back. Also, there is brand new music from the depths. I wasn't using it at the start, because apparently there's been some copyright issues over on YouTube, but that should have resolved. It is so different to the old track. Okay, you know what I need to do? Add a chair to this thing. Oh, are you going to be stable after I landed on you? Okay. There we go. Nice and simple. I've actually used general purpose PIDs. I need to get out the habit of using them for everything, but my god, it makes everything so much easier. Okay, yeah, I mean, it looks bigger than it is. Then you see my character on it, and yeah, it's absolutely tiny. It makes the dart look massive in comparison, and it actually has most of the stuff already inside of it now. It is just a couple of batteries, an engine, a mainframe, a tiny particle cannon, and then a couple of thrusters. That's it. It's magic. Dumb magic. The magic appears to be betraying me. Oh god, that is horribly nauseating. Okay, I'm going to try and use as few jets as possible, because I've just realised how much cheaper the Deady Blades are. It's kind of insane. Yeah, 1 spinner and 4 extensions is just nothing, but then it's 100 for a single jet engine, which is honestly way too much power. We just don't need that much for all the basics here. And don't worry, I will be shifting around a lot of its innards, because right now we have the AI basically completely exposed along with the batteries. It's never going to be highly defensive. This thing is going to go down like a flying squirrel if it gets hit to the face, but the whole point is it'll be cheap and we don't really care. Not that we don't appreciate you, but we don't really appreciate its life. That sounded worse. Wait, seriously? So right now, only one of these actually are taking any power at all from the batteries, just this one. Tiny little blade here, and that is enough to get this thing to fly, well, at least hover stably. It'll be a different story once it starts moving, but oh, you know, because how cheap this is going to be, I don't think wasting money on any kind of protection is going to be worth it. It's just, it's going to die regardless to any medium to heavy fire, so I'm not even really that concerned about making it resilient to light arms fire, because right now it is stupidly cheap. Again, everything will be moved around, but yeah, I forgot how much these blades are amazing. But the blades currently... Okay, so I know eventually they are going to make it so internal blades don't work, unless they have things like vents, but... Is that currently the case, or is that still something they're going to implement later on? Either way, we should work around it, but okay, yeah, so that's clearly something for later on. Right now, if, for instance, we put down a jet, let's make sure we have space to do what I'm about to do, just shove it on the front. We get no error message, but then if we put a block in front of it, like so, not enough free room behind, efficiency greatly reduced. But if we put a duct behind it, which is the whole point of them, and in my opinion they do look really, really cool, including these little tiny ones you can get now, which are really nice looking. So let's put one of those down. Tiny little duct. It's now protected, but it doesn't have that error message. And then of course there's all different sizes, including this one, which will just sink us in 2 seconds. But right now, the blades don't seem to abide by this. I will pretend that they do, for the most part, because, again, that might be fixed any time now, especially with all the updates recently. The game has been updated so quickly lately. Well, I said the little thing would be simple. I didn't think it'd be this simple.
Cuando la tiendita cerca de ti está a punto de cerrar, o los de la lavandería necesitan un empujón, hay que buscarle. Por eso, si estás buscando cómo ayudar a los lugares más cercanos a ti, saca una cita, pide takeout o compra un gift card con un poco de ayuda de Google.
We could change the jet engines for yet another one of the blade spinners. I mean, it would be on theme. Currently, we're at just about 3k resources, so I still have 2k to play with if I want to. It'd be nice for once to be under budget. That'd be a rare thing. Just need some turning, which will definitely be the Deadly Blades. Might need this to go a little bit further forwards, just because otherwise we are going to be clipping into our own armour, which will of course be a problem. Well, it looks a bit more interesting. Turning capabilities, just attaching that with some steam piping. In fact, what I'm going to do is replace all of this piping with metal mimics or alloy mimics. That way we can still have all the steam piping, but we'll have the stats of a block of metal or a block of alloy. Currently, it's pretty much just made out of, well, it's meant to be made out of just alloy. I've messed up there and accidentally used some regular metal as well. The alloy is just a significant amount cheaper, lighter rather. I think it's the same cost actually now as metal, right? Yeah, but the weight is incredibly lighter. A block of metal is 40 weight, a block of alloy is 5. Bit of a big difference. In terms of armor, it's 5 armor less and 50 health less, so it does make the whole thing a bit more vulnerable. But again, I don't really care about that. I don't mind these things being shot down. I want them just to be light, easy to produce, cheap, and look weird. And generally speaking, weird things is kind of what I do. Not good things, but weird things. Like my mind. Yeah, 1 second charge time. I was about to say it isn't enough, but it did kill the flying squirrel. Pretty weird. And generally speaking, weird things is kind of what I do. Not good things, but weird things. Like my mind. Yeah, 1 second charge time. I was about to say it isn't enough, but it did kill the flying squirrel pretty darn quickly. Yeah, 1 second charge time just makes it so unlikely to hit, and when it does hit, it does so little damage. It's not really viable, but I do love the idea of just hundreds of these things spamming those little terrible shots. I currently basically have it set to turret mode. As soon as it sees an enemy, it just stays put and tries to target it, and that's it. Though it definitely needs a bit of balancing when it comes to aiming, because as you can see, it's kind of going off constantly. The really dramatic music right now for such a silly fight is, well, it's silly, as you can imagine. Okay, you need some work done. Yes, you do. Your brain ain't quite working yet. I know the feeling. Should be a fair bit more stable in terms of turning now. Note to self, give them failsafe so they don't shoot each other. Not happening just yet, but very well could do. Not need to overclock them. If we want to stick with the 1 second fire time, which is dreadful, especially for the explosive one, we're going to have to overclock them. Currently, they're not. So they're very, very cheap to run, but... Oh, I love that. There's this constant stream of damage from my little defense force. Oh, it did eventually take it out, but that was the wonder. That's a very, very weak enemy. How much does the wonder even cost? Well, still significantly more than the things which defeated it, but still, that's not saying all that much. When we go to the campaign, we're likely going to be facing much stronger enemies than the wonder, since we are going to be on max difficulty. I do adore these little things. I like little angry fish. Definitely more stable though. Okay, note to self, fail safe, just so they don't shoot each other. Make sure the AI tries to avoid each other, otherwise they're just going to hit each other constantly. But they are returning to their mother after fighting, which is always nice to see. You know, respect your elders. Or mommy frog, it'll do horrible things. Good children. Oh, was that it? Oh, I did not actually get any footage of that. Okay, so, what I was about to say is what we could use is EMP. And this is why. Yep, the Corsair is small enough that it instantly obliterates it every single time with only a couple of shots. These are still not overclocked. They're very, very cheap still. I think EMP is probably what I should be using. How about something far scarier like the Kraken? Now, the Kraken will obliterate these things if they don't take it out very quickly, because its weapons, I believe, at all times fuses. And it's dead. It's dead. That's it. It's done. The Kraken's down. These are still not the scariest opponents. They're really not, trust me. But what I'm trying to show is EMP tends to be... Where are you going? Tends to be one of those weapons which does well against everything unless they are really, really, really protected versus it, which means against large targets or small targets, EMP is going to be good. It's going to crush smaller targets, which simply won't be able to have the protection, but it still gives us some ability to combat larger targets, and we're almost certainly going to have more than just 5 of these things flying around, because they are just that cheap. Lovely EMP bees. So this is what I was thinking originally, something like this. The problem is, these will not spawn our lovely little swarmers far enough away. And honestly, we don't need this many, so I'm thinking instead is we just have 2 blueprint spawners, one spawning in this location, since we can actually build it up quite nicely, then a second at the end. This gives us loads of space, we can add extra armor to this, make it an actual defended little location, have all the repair tentacles on the inside, and we can just have both of these spawners set to preserve 2, and maximum all the way to the top. I think I have to manually reset this once they hit 10, but that's fine, there's no real problem there. If we've lost over 10 spawns each, I probably wouldn't want to keep on building the drones, because clearly they're being destroyed too easily in any said fight. Something like that. And that's the 3.6k version of the Swarmlings as well, which are the slightly more expensive versions. That is perfect. Okay, note to self, though, need to make it so they go up a little bit faster, but that's actually something we can fix quite easily, and it only took 1 block of damage. The other one won't have the issue because we're going to be moving forwards or left and right only slightly, so spawning over here is a lot safer, but I do like the idea of it spawning in both edges rather than both spawning in the same plane. Okay. That's reasonable, plus we can have both of these in the core, since they don't actually have to be too far away from each other. In fact, they could both be on this level, and that'd be fine as well, if I could use my words. Okay, I'll set up the internals, add a very rudimentary outside to this, and then we'll give it a proper shot in a test fight. Just to see how it works. The new music is so much different to what I'm used to. Yeah, that's what I want, perfect. In fact, I'm just copy and paste that. So we have windows, but they're actually made out of metal, because they are the mimics. So we'll just armor this up as well, so then at least we have a 2 thick armor on this side, we'll have at least 2 thick on this side as well, while still giving it the illusion of being a free space. Gonna have some doors here. So we have a main building, then we have 2 more open areas, which I'll eventually put mimics in as well to make it look like a workstation, a work area, rather. then a main building here, and I'm not sure how much I'm going to connect it to the bridge. Probably very little, honestly. And also what I'm going to do very soon is I'm going to be bringing this down. Once I get back to building the superstructure a bit more of the aircraft carrier, this is all going to be brought down probably about 3. So we can start hiding things underneath there as well, and add layers and layers of armor to make it a lot more protected. For now, though, we're just building this little, yeah, it is just a little workstation, which will be building our drones. So I don't really have the time right now to mess around with mimics to make this look exactly as I want it, but this is the kind of concept I want. Just loads of the bits which make up the drones just kind of thrown around in these workspace areas. I'll change the texture of the flooring as well to something else in a while. Then I'll add a very small bit of roofing to it, since the outside is basically just there to be there. The inside I can super heavily armor later on. Right now it's just an open area like this, and then I'll be hiding the actual repair tentacles underneath. This building here is really only there to protect the spawners themselves, so we just need a lot of armor in this corner and a lot of armor in this corner. Then it'll be absolutely fine and very unlikely to take critical damage early on in the fight, and that's all we really need it for. I quite like it, and I actually quite like it being merged with this wall here, but I'm still not sure. I could just make it part of the bridge area here, just bring this over. But I do kind of like it being this bunker workshop thing instead of being separate. Not too sure, so tell me in the comments which would look better. Really do need to work with mimics more though, because they are fantastic, and I have so little experience, it takes me way too long to do anything with them. Well, I think I've definitely made it look like a proper bunker, but does that even fit the aesthetic? I think it does. I actually really like this. Basic but brutal looking, and I do like that. Especially now it's darker in here, the spotlight actually makes this mainframe look really creepy, for instance. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm still tempted to just attach this, because what we could do very easily is just remove this bit of railing here and just bring this along for the ride. Bring that all the way over to this, and then these two connect, building a kind of a walkway here. Bit of a jagged one. And we could always just move this forward as well and put it completely in line, but again, I do like the extra space here. Especially since this bridge is likely going to just consume all of this at the front, so having this little bit of a break at the back, I don't know, just makes it look a bit more interesting? Kinda? Okay, so this should now work. Please ignore all the random damage sections on our hull, because I was testing out a few other things before this. So right now we have 4 drones, we have 2 blueprint spawners. Each of the blueprint spawners wants 2 drones to be alive at any given time. So if I were to destroy one of our drones, you'd expect a new drone to be replaced, but I've also set it up so that will only happen during combat. So right now, no new drones will be spawned, which is exactly what I want to see. But then, what-oh, a foe? A couple of vanguards appear. And yep, now there's enemies present, we'll start spawning in a new defense drone. Nice and simple. And that's it, really. They'll spawn in a maximum of 10 per fight, and they'll try to keep 2 alive each. That is it. Why are you not firing? Oh, your one horn's just got damaged. They're not repaired either. Yeah, while I was messing around with them and their positioning and stuff, they kind of got smacked around a lot. So that's not surprising that one of them isn't firing. Interesting that you didn't fire, though. Okay, I need to check you out. What have I done wrong? I found out what the problem was. The margin for the failsafe was so wide, it was picking up on things, even though it was that far away. So that's why the one in the back wasn't firing, because it was too scared of hitting the others. That was obviously way too high, and I have no idea why I put that to 50. Easy fix, at least. So now all we need to do, now that works, all we need to do now is finish off changing up the inside so I can put that inside the craft rather than just sticking out like a weird antenna. And then I do want to make one more version of the drone. We can make loads of versions. We can have a missile variant and advanced cannon variant, but of course I want to make a missile variant for some sheer damage. And we could mix them up as well. We could have 2 EMP